Hey everyone, welcome to Recap Blitz. The story begins in the year 1965. The American Civil War was reaching its final days, and the country was torn apart by chaos and conflict. Amidst this turmoil, we see a captain, a man with a determined face, holding a single golden coin in his hand. But this was no ordinary coin. Behind him, several crates filled with the same golden coins were being loaded onto a large ship. Each crate was marked with the letters CSA. There was a sense of urgency, as if the treasure itself held the weight of history. Suddenly, without warning, attackers descended upon them. The captain, quick thinking and fearless, steered the ship into the water and shut down all the engines. Darkness fell over the ship like a shield, hiding it from the eyes of their enemies. Just as he had planned, the attackers were left confused and lost, and the captain managed to escape unharmed. Years passed, and the story moved to the present day. A Who van was speeding through the streets of Las Vegas in Africa. Not the famous Las Vegas of the US, but a city facing a dangerous outbreak. Inside the van, Dr. Sophia sat quietly, her mind racing with concern. A new patient had shown symptoms of a mysterious disease, one that she still did not fully understand. The patient's mother explained that her child had recently traveled to Mali with his father and had fallen ill soon after returning. Sophia quickly made a decision. She asked her senior to include this patient in their case files. Now, the total number of cases had reached 6. The Who needed this information urgently, but her senior was doubtful. At such low numbers, no one will pay attention, he said. Determined, Sophia decided she had to go to Mali herself to understand why people were falling ill there. But Mali was in the grip of an internal conflict, and the senior warned her, no one will allow you to enter that country in such dangerous conditions. Unbeknownst to them, a masked man was already watching their every move, clearly unhappy with the presence of these doctors. Amidst these thoughts, Sophia realized something important. The patient's father also needed to be tested. She quickly set off toward a lighthouse where he had been working. When she arrived, she found the father in the exact same condition as his son. But worse, he had already lost his life to the disease. With a heavy heart, Sophia collected a sample quietly and slipped out. Nearby, on the ocean, a man was boating peacefully. Suddenly, the masked figure attacked Sophia, but the man in the boat intervened just in time, saving her life. In a struggle, however, the masked man managed to steal Sophia's bag and disappear into the distance. When Sophia opened her eyes again, she found herself aboard a ship named Noma, a vessel used by treasure hunters in search of lost riches. To her surprise, the man who had saved her was also on the ship. He was carrying a priceless artifact he had retrieved from the sea. The hunter's ultimate goal, however, was the very same CSA ship that had vanished decades ago during the Civil War, a mystery that had yet to be solved. As Sophia absorbed everything, Almora, the ship's owner, appeared. The man who had saved Sophia was named Doug. Almora instructed Doug that the treasure they had found had to be cleaned and prepared for display at a museum party that very night. Doug then went to meet a Nigerian dealer to coordinate the exhibition. At the party, the priceless artifact, a burial treasure of an African king worth thousands of crores, was displayed for everyone to see. Doug quickly showed the dealer a coin engraved with CSA. His eyes lit up with excitement. "This has been my dream for years," he said. "No one has ever found out what happened to that ship." Among the party attendees was the owner of Mascot Company, the organization that had funded the treasure hunt. He had strong connections in Mali, which Sophia needed to reach safely. She approached him for help. Though he warned her about the dangers of going there, he promised to find a way if she insisted on traveling. Soon, Doug also arrived and showed the CSA coin to a man named James, explaining that it had been discovered by someone in Mali. Doug believed the wreck of the CSA ship was likely somewhere in Mali too. Hearing this, James smiled with hope and gave Doug and Almora permission to travel to Mali for 3 days. And so, a journey that began in the shadows of a Civil War treasure, now intertwined with a modern-day deadly outbreak, was set in motion. Sophia, Doug, and Almora were about to uncover secrets buried for decades, facing dangers that spanned both history and the present, where treasure and disease were linked in ways no one could have imagined. They were determined to find that ship, to follow every lead, and if they even discovered the smallest clue, they would launch a full operation to locate the lost vessel. The next day, the team reached the port. Sophia and Dr. Jack were already there, waiting. As soon as Sophia saw Doug, she explained, "James said that both Dr. Jack and I can go with you to Mali." Hearing this, the team felt a renewed sense of purpose. Together, the 5 of them set out toward Mali, the journey filled with tension, hope, and anticipation. That night, while they were having dinner on the ship, Doug spoke to Sophia about the coin. His eyes gleamed with a mix of nostalgia and excitement as he revealed, "Finding this ship has been my dream since childhood." Sophia could see how deeply personal this quest was for him. When they reached Mali, Sophia and Jack split off to follow their own path, while Doug and the others went to the house of the man who had discovered the coin. Upon arrival, they were greeted with grim news. The man had passed away. The trail to the ship seemed blocked once again. Yet, Doug's eyes caught a distant mosque. They decided to investigate, hoping that, as in many religious places, old records or information might be preserved. Inside, they met a man who carefully examined old records. After some searching, he revealed a crucial detail. Years ago, a ship had arrived at a local port, but no one survived on board. The current and flow of the water had carried the ship further away, lost to time. Doug immediately realized the significance of this information and rushed to tell James everything. Without wasting a moment, the group set off toward the city of Jaw, a little further ahead. During their journey, they discovered an unusual type of soil in a section of their boat. Upon inspection, they realized it could corrode metal, rusting anything it touched. Doug remarked, "It's rare to find soil like this in flowing water. It could be a sign." Suddenly, a military boat appeared on the horizon, heading straight toward them. The officer in command repeatedly asked, "Where are the doctors who came here with you?" Doug immediately understood. They were not after him or the treasure. They were after Sophia and Jack. The local king had learned that 2 foreign doctors had arrived to investigate the deadly disease spreading in his country. Orders had been issued to stop them at all costs. Doug knew something was wrong. Why would officers care about treasure hunters if not for the doctors? Thinking fast, he told the officer, "Sir, we do not speak much English," and steered the boat closer to the side, pretending to negotiate. Doug threw a rope to the approaching boat, which the officers tied onto their side. In that split second, he signaled his friends. The team accelerated at full speed, pulling the officer's boat in a sudden jolt. The enemy boat capsized, and Doug quickly cut the rope. The group escaped, hearts pounding, but the danger wasn't over yet. Not far ahead, 2 more boats waited, opening fire as soon as they spotted them. Doug realized there was no other choice. They had to jump into the water to survive. Before leaping, they slashed a fuel tank, ensuring a massive explosion would follow. As the second boat closed in, all 3 jumped into the river. The officers fired relentlessly, but the fuel tank detonated violently, destroying the enemy boat and eliminating everyone on board. Finally, soaked and exhausted, they reached a house on the riverbank. Rudy, one of Doug's companions, asked, "Now that we have no boat, do we stop looking for the ship?" Doug shook his head firmly. "We'll find it later. First, we have to save the doctors. If they fall into the king's hands, they won't survive." Doug instructed Rudy to cross the border quickly and reach Almora, while he and James set out to find Sophia and Jack. The doctors had reached a deserted village. The silence was overwhelming. They searched everywhere, but no one was around. In one house, Sophia discovered the bodies of villagers, all victims of the mysterious disease. Heartbroken, she and Jack buried them at dawn, a solemn and haunting task. Meanwhile, Rudy managed to cross the border undetected. In the village, Sophia found a well and decided to investigate. It might hold clues. As she began collecting a water sample, Jack warned her, "Military personnel are approaching." Before she could react, gunfire erupted, and everyone around them was killed, leaving only Sophia hidden inside the well, trembling with fear. Suddenly, a helicopter landed nearby. Mali's king, Kazim, stepped out. His gaze was fierce and commanding as he demanded, "Where is the lady doctor?" The noise of the helicopter alerted Doug and James. They knew the doctors were close, but the king's anger was evident, and the threat had never felt more real. As soon as the gunshot rang out, Jack fell to the ground. Kazim's men immediately started moving. Their orders clear: find Sophia at any cost. Doug and James, hidden nearby, watched the horrifying scene unfold, their hearts pounding as bullets flew and chaos erupted. Kazim's soldiers were ruthless, killing anyone in their path, and for a moment, Doug's own life hung by a thread. But just in time, Sophia appeared from behind, fearless and determined, and took down one of Kazim's men, saving Doug in the nick of time. The weight of Dr. Jack's death hit Sophia like a tidal wave. Her mentor, her friend, was gone, and a deep, raw grief filled her heart. She could hardly breathe. Doug put a hand on her shoulder, firm and urgent. "We have to leave now. This place, it's not safe at all." The 3 of them, Doug, James, and Sophia, escaped Kazim's military zone, and reached another area. But the danger didn't end. In fact, it only grew. Suddenly, a group of mounted soldiers appeared, surrounding them. In a blur, the trio was captured and taken before their king, Godgo. The imposing figure of the king loomed over them as he demanded, "Why are you here? What is your business?" Sophia, summoning all her courage, explained, "I am a doctor. There is a disease spreading in your land. I am here to find its source and stop it." Godgo's gaze hardened, but after a pause, he allowed them to stay in his city, cautiously agreeing to let Sophia investigate. Sophia immediately began examining the local water supply. Her suspicions were confirmed. The water was poisoned, and it was no accident. Someone had deliberately contaminated it. She informed the king, explaining that they needed to trace the source of the poison. Godgo nodded gravely, promising his support. Meanwhile, James was playing football with the children when the ball rolled away. Chasing it, he discovered a hidden location, its walls adorned with strange and ancient paintings. To their astonishment, the murals depicted the very ship they had been searching for, buried long ago in a dry desert. Sophia and Doug arrived to see it, and Doug explained that 200 years ago, a river had flowed here, now completely dried up. The three of them began planning to track the hidden river, hoping it could lead them to the lost ship. As they scouted the area, they spotted a fortress near the dry riverbed. Doug speculated that the poison water reaching the village might still flow underground from that river. They approached the fortress, climbing its walls, and discovered a solar plant belonging to Mascot Company. Its presence in such a deserted location puzzled them, but as Doug observed carefully, he noticed a train nearby. Slowly and cautiously, they made their way into the train, seeking further clues. Meanwhile, Rudy had reached Almora. On his clothes, he still carried traces of the red soil from Mali, which matched the sample from their boat. Testing it and showing the results to Almora left him stunned. Back at the plant, Sophia, Doug, and James discovered the shocking truth. The facility was producing radioactive chemicals at a rapid rate, powered by the intense sunlight. Sophia's eyes fell on containers being moved underground. They followed the workers and were horrified by what they saw. Thousands of tons of radioactive and toxic chemicals, leaking from containers directly into the river below. This river supplied water to the entire country, explaining the rapid spread of the deadly disease. Almora and Rudy rushed to the U.S. Embassy with the evidence, but even the officials were stunned, struggling to believe the scale of the danger. At the same time, Doug, James, and Sophia tried to escape the plant, but Mascot's men caught them. Confronted, Sophia confronted Mr. Mascot. "Do you know what you're doing? Your chemicals are poisoning the river. People are dying because of this." Mascot tried to defend himself, claiming the chemicals were being destroyed by fire. Sophia shook her head, horrified. "No, they're stored in the basement, leaking into the river. That's why everyone is sick." Fear and panic crossed Mascot's face. He realized the truth of what Sophia was saying. They tied Doug and James, but clever Doug used the golden coin to unlock the truck, freeing them. Mascot, panicked, immediately went to meet Kazim, reporting everything Sophia had revealed. Kazim, unbothered by the deaths of people, only cared that his payment continued. Doug and James, now wandering the desert with their hands still tied to the truck door, felt hopeless. They had walked for hours, the scorching sun beating down, when suddenly they stumbled upon a crashed plane. Its tires were still intact. Seizing the opportunity, they cleverly glided the plane across the sand and reached a nearby village. There, they found a telephone and called Almora, explaining everything that had happened. Using the money from selling the golden coin, Doug bought a jeep. With it, he and James approached Godgo, seeking his help to stand against Kazim. Yet Godgo had few men and weapons. Unlike Kazim, he was not equipped with a large army or heavy firepower. The desert stretched endlessly around them, the golden coin still warm in their memories, the lost ship and the poisoned water a looming threat, and the journey to save lives and uncover the treasure had only just reached its most dangerous chapter. Godgo had refused to fight against Kazim's army. He knew they were outnumbered and outgunned. But he didn't leave Doug and James empty-handed. He handed them a car, a vehicle that Godgo had purchased from Kazim himself. With this car, Doug and James drove straight to the plant, their hearts racing, knowing the stakes were higher than ever. At the gate, they were stopped, but neither hesitated. With guns in hand, they forced their way inside. Once inside, they were shocked to find the entire plant completely empty. James quickly realized the reason. Mascot must have understood that the chemicals he had been producing were causing death, and now the news had reached America. The empty plant was likely an attempt to erase all evidence. James quickly ran to the basement to locate the explosives mascots team had been planning to use to blow up the facility. At that very moment, a helicopter landed nearby. Mascot, ruthless and impatient, forcibly took Sophia and put her inside the helicopter. Just as it was about to lift off, Doug arrived, seizing Mascot in a sudden move. But another of Mascot's men appeared from behind, grabbing Doug and holding him back. Thinking quickly, Sophia jumped from the helicopter just in time, landing safely on the ground below. Meanwhile, James found a bomb inside a container. Acting fast, he removed it and safely stored it in his bag, ensuring the explosion wouldn't happen. Mascot, still controlling the helicopter, attempted to orient the solar plant's panels toward the sun, speeding up the process to create the deadly chemicals. The solar panels began working at full power, but thanks to James' quick thinking, nothing exploded. Mascot's face turned red with rage as he realized his plan had failed. Sophia and Doug freed themselves from Mascot's men, and the three of them jumped into the car, speeding away. But Kazim was relentless. His helicopter followed, gunfire raining down from above. Doug yelled at James, "Throw out all the explosives we found in the basement. Use them." James obeyed, tossing them out of the car. Wherever Kazim's bullets hit, the explosives detonated, sending clouds of dust and smoke into the air. The smoke was so thick that Kazim had to turn his helicopter away. But amidst the chaos, something incredible happened. The sand shifted, revealing the lost ship that had been buried for centuries. Seeing it, the three of them ducked inside for cover. Kazim, however, realized what was happening and opened fire on the ship. His soldiers surrounded them from all sides. As the attacks continued, containers inside the ship toppled, and golden coins spilled onto the deck. Doug could hardly believe his eyes. The coins were still intact, perfectly preserved after all these years. Then, they discovered an old cannon inside the ship, surprisingly well maintained. Quickly, they prepared it, aiming at Kazim's helicopter. As it came into view, they fired the cannon. A tremendous explosion rocked the sky, and Kazim was killed in the blast. His army, now leaderless and terrified, surrendered immediately. Doug, Sophia, and James stepped outside, stunned. How had such a large, well-equipped army surrendered so quickly? And they realized they were surrounded by Godgo's men, strategically positioned, securing the area from every side. Meanwhile, in America, an undercover agent, fully aware of Mascot's operations, had secretly poisoned Mascot's own drink, the same poison he had been giving to people in Mali. Soon, Mascot would face the same fate as his victims. Finally, Doug and Sophia stood together, triumphant but exhausted. Doug had left the treasure for Godgo and his people, knowing they had suffered the most from the disease and that it was their land. The treasure rightfully belonged to them. Justice had been served, lives had been saved, and the lost ship had finally been revealed after centuries of mystery.
Subscribe. Join next time for another story that makes you think and feel. Until then, stay curious and stay safe.